streaming on YouTube, Facebook, as well as here in the Zoom room. Welcome up on online. What we would love to hear from is find out where everyone's logging in from. So do us a favor, type in the chat where you're watching us from as we get everything up and running for the day. As always, we'll put on a quick timer, which is your opportunity to make sure all your people are online. Alrighty, so for those people who've just logged in, if you don't speak fluent English, that's totally fine. Have a quick listen to this.
Por favor, vaya a la parte inferior de la pantalla en Zoom o YouTube y haga clic en subtítulos para leer en español.
Kérlek, menjünk képernyő aljára, a Zoomon vagy a YouTube-on, a Closed Caption részre, és ott el tudod olvasni magyarul a feliratot.
Silakan klik di layar bawah pada Zoom atau YouTube dan klik caption untuk membaca dalam bahasa Indonesia.
Pour les sous-titres en français, veuillez cliquer au bas de votre écran Zoom ou YouTube sur CC ou Closed Captions.
Zoom または YouTube の画面の下部に移動し、字幕をクリックして日本語で読んでください。
請到屏幕底部點閱隱藏字幕以閱讀中文。
Παρακαλώ πηγαίνετε στο κάτω μέρος της οθόνης, στο Zoom ή στο YouTube και κάντε κλικ στους υπότιτλους για να τα διαβάσετε στα ελληνικά.
請到屏幕底部點擊隱藏字幕以閱讀中文.
אנא עברו לתחתית המסך בזום וביוטיוב ולחצו על תרגום לכתוביות בעברית.
Proszę zejść na dół ekranu na Zoomie lub YouTubie i kliknąć napisy, żeby przeczytać po polsku.
Beautiful. Welcome online, ladies and gentlemen, to Members Night. Today in Australia is the 18th of September, so probably the 17th over there in the Northern Hemisphere. We've got people who've logged on from Western Australia, Indonesia, Las Vegas, USA, Canada, Toronto, Ontario, Charleston, USA, Indonesia, Australia, Caribbean or Caribbean, as they always say. So welcome online, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is a great event today because it is the last event I'm going to be doing for you guys for a month. Literally, you're not going to hear from me for at least a month because we're getting prepared for the Diamond Retreat. In about 6 days, I fly out of here and we're flying over to Europe. And by the way, pretty exciting, I've never been to Europe in my entire life. I've been pretty much everywhere in the world, but the one place I've never been is Europe. And I wanted to kick off this event by just saying the gratitude I have for the Neumi business to be able to see the world. And so I figured, what topic should we talk about as we're about to engage with all the diamonds and crowns around the world on a Mediterranean cruise. So Liz and I are flying over on purpose for about 4 days early to just make sure we, eliminate any jet lag and that sort of stuff, but also to see a little bit of Rome. And then that's about 4 days. Then we'll be going on the cruise through Italy and where are we going? Italy and Spain and various places. And then we're going over to Athens, doing an event for the Greek team. And then to make that tax deductible. Yes, Mr. Taxman, you heard that right, because we're working. And then we're going to Santorini after that, which apparently it's on the bucket list of most people. So I'm only sharing that with you, not to brag, but just to say the gratitude of this business is just unbelievable. So I wanted to say today on this call, I want to make it a little bit interactive, okay? I want you to have a pen and paper out because I really want this to be a line in the sand moment for everyone who's online, okay? And you're going to know more about what I'm talking about in a minute. And normally I put quite a lot of preparation in each week for the things that we talk about, and we make sure we check with the diamonds and the crowns, what's the right topic, and we pitch things accordingly. This week I had a scramble to get everything ready to wrap up to head off, as well as Karen Justice has asked me to do a special event for her team on Saturday. So I've put a lot of time in preparing that, which I won't burst anyone's bubble, but on Karen's team will hear that on Saturday. But then straight after that, what I'm doing for her will be recorded and posted straight onto the YouTube channel around a topic. I nearly said what it was. So I just don't want to burst the bubble for her call on Saturday. But it will be recorded or pre-recorded, and then it will be something that will become an available tool immediately for everybody straight after that. And yeah, I won't say any more about that, but that's what the plan is. So with that in mind today we are going to talk about something that I really want you to pay a lot of attention to, and I really know it'll make a huge difference for all of you. So it's perfect timing as we pack up and get ready for the Diamond Retreat, okay? And it's a time to do a little bit of soul searching, as well. I love this time of the year because it's an opportunity to build new relationships with the diamonds in the teams and crowns around the world. And there's people, believe it or not, there are diamonds in the team that I've not met. There are diamonds in the team that I've not had one sentence of conversation with simply because of language barriers and things like that. So I can't wait to see all of that. It's also an awesome opportunity, as I've mentioned, to see the world. And I'm so grateful and over the moon that I've been able to see parts of the world, and particularly this one, Europe, that I've never seen before. And, for those of you that know this, my wife, Liz, and I, we've been married now for about a year and a half. And been together for about 4 years. And when I met my beautiful wife, she'd never left the shores of Australia. And in just the last 4 years, again, this is not bragging, this is showing you the opportunity, because we wouldn't have had this opportunity otherwise. She's been to Mexico, United States, Costa Rica, Argentina, El Salvador, Indonesia, Philippines, Bahamas. I'm sure she wants to go to the Caribbean. And this trip, we're going to be visiting Italy, Spain, and Greece. So the other reason I'm looking forward to this is you guys, some of you know how much I do for the Neumi model behind the scenes, not for my own team, but it is an opportunity for me to switch off. So I share that with you because the awesome Keith Chazon, I want to do a shout out for him. He will be holding the fort together from a online live streaming perspective. So the show will go on. There'll be plenty of events happening just with none of my input. And Keith, I want to thank you for that. And again, a shout out to Phoebe Wallace. I want to thank her today because she's managing the online door while I'm getting all this going. So teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. The only thing you might see a little bit of a slowdown with while I'm gone would be social media. But there's various things will keep coming out, and you'll probably see a lot more of Europe, because I will be posting stuff like that, but maybe on my own profile and probably not for the company. We will see. Anyway, so as I said, it's an opportunity for you guys, a bit of a soul-searching time. Why? Like a line in the sand. Because I want to ask this question. How many of you intended to be on this Diamond Retreat? Type in the chat. I've got my phone over here logged in as well, so I can see your messages. How many of you really intended to be there? Yeah? Yep. Couple of answers. Only a couple of you. So nobody else wanted to go. Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. So we'll just make a list of all the names that didn't answer the question and say they don't want an invitation next year, even if they qualify. Oh, here we go. Some people typing yes, right? So I just saw an answer there about, anyway, I won't say the answer, but if it is to be, it's up to me. What does that mean? If you are going to be on the Diamond Retreat next year, it is going to be not about anybody else. It's going to be about you and your commitment to make it happen by next year, right? So we want a bit of self responsibility as we talk about this next one, because I'm going to talk about how to get there next year, okay? So just remember the statement. You probably heard it over the years in the industry. If nothing changes, nothing changes. What does that mean? What does it even mean? Well, it means if you do exactly the same thing you did in the last 12 months, I will guarantee you won't be there. Simple. So do you want to be there? Type in yes, or just put in number one. Just hit the number one and hit enter. Do you want to be there next year? Because if you want to be there, I'm going to show you how to guarantee that you will be there in the next year. Yep, got some ones coming through. Perfect. All right. So here's what happens. Unfortunately, some people set a goal about December 31 and they never revisit their goals. Now, we teach them vision mapping and breaking it down, but for some people, just a few months down the track, the goal that they set, the big, hairy, audacious goal, or BHAG as they call it, has never been looked back at since. Why? Because they didn't map out a plan. Now, you all know that, well, if you don't know this, I'm a lion otter personality, right? Parties, fun, and doing it now and don't waste time and immediate action and bias for immediate action. I don't have much patience if people screw it up. That's just my personality. Having said that, one personality is not my primary one, is details, which is the beaver. That's my wife. But when it comes to business, I understand that's not an excuse for me. I have to make a plan. So I can say, oh, my personality is not details, so I don't write some goals. BS, right? I need to write that down, okay? So I want you to be honest with yourselves today, right? That's the key. You've got to be honest with yourself. And the only person you need to impress is you, not anyone in the chat. Okay? Just so we're clear, it's you looking in the mirror, hand on your heart, looking right in your eyeballs and being honest with yourself, not fooling yourself. Okay? So, you know, it's interesting. You think about this back in school, did you, or even in the corporate world, type in yes if you've ever had this happen, where they tell you to stretch up as high as you can. And then they say, okay, now stretch some more. And you do. And you go, hang on, was I really stretching at the start? Well, you were, but you weren't stretching yourself as far as you could push yourself. And it happens every time. It's like stretch as far as you can, as far as you can, as far as you can. All right, now stretch some more. Oh, okay, we do. How is that possible? Like I said, we didn't push ourselves to the brink the first time. Okay, so this is really important. Are we stretching ourselves enough right now? So if you look at the most successful people in Neumi, every one of them have something in common, right? And it's interesting. And when I say that, I'm only going to talk about, I'll talk three people because I can say those three people are the biggest businesses in the company. And that is Karen Justice, Alex Monterosa, and myself. And I'm not saying that out of ego again. I'm just saying that's the fact. They're the three biggest crowns. So what's common about them? Well, just prior to Neumi, Alex had been a crown with another company that terminated and took away his income overnight. I had had the same thing happen to me. Karen Justice had actually lost everything as well, and she had PTSD from network marketing, never going to do it again. But we launched our businesses and bounced back from that, you know, financial stress, if you like. So what's common about those three people? All of us, right? And we're talking in the third sense. All of us had a really clear, highly motivated reason why. Now, I was talking to the Latin American group yesterday, and I gave the analogy that if you're at work right now and you got a phone call saying one of your children have been in a car accident, maybe they got a broken leg or something, how many seconds would it take you to say, boss, I've got to go. I'm going to the hospital. I've got to go. Be ya. See ya. You wouldn't make any excuses, not on long-winded explanations. You literally would have just grabbed your keys and gone. Why is that? Because you had a very clearly defined reason why, and your priority was your child. Now, I'm going to say this out loud, and if it offends people, I apologize, but sometimes tough love is what you need to hear, right? So this is for your benefits. And why is somebody ringing me on my phone? So I'm just going to say, go away. We're on members note. Why would we be ringing? So this is the bit. Some of you have set a goal and you want to be on the Diamond Retreat next year, but one of your mates rings up and says, hey, in 3 months from now, there's a whole bunch of us. We're going to go away for 4 weeks, and we're going to, you know, for the Americans, we're going to Mexico. For the Aussies, we're going to Bali. You know, there's a whole heap of us coming. Would you like to come? And you go, yeah. You were not serious about your goal. What, Michael? Well, if you're at work and your child breaks a leg, you go to the hospital because they're a priority. It's not you go, oh, I've got to work. But if you set a goal with your business and a friend says they're going to go away for a month in the middle of your goal, it wasn't a goal. This is the bit about being serious about your goals. I've really got to get you to understand if you want to be there next year, you have to make it a priority. So if someone goes, and I hate using these words, but I've heard it before, balls to the wall, they call it, when you're going for it, right? They do a lot more work than the average person does, and they always end up winning the prize, don't they, right? So when someone goes balls to the wall, if you want to call it that, and a friend rings up and says, listen, in 3 months from now, a whole bunch of us are going on this holiday. Would you like to come? What's the response? I'd love to. And any other time I would, but I'm committed. I've got something I've got to achieve. I've set some goals, and this is my priority. Unfortunately, at this particular time, I can't go. That is the level of commitment that makes a difference. We're doing this. We've burnt the boats, right? So here's some questions I want to ask you all, and this is why I asked you to put a pen and paper out. How serious are you about being on the Diamond Retreat as a fully qualified diamond next year? And let's put it in this perspective. What would it mean if you had an extra $100,000 income coming in next year? Now, that's not an income claim that every diamond will earn exactly the same money. I'm just saying, let's pick a figure out of the air, right? About $100,000 income. What difference would that make to you, right? I did have my chat up here, but someone rang us on that Facebook and that screwed everything up. Here we go. Okay. So I want to see in the chat, what would $100,000 per year added on top of what you're earning by this time next year make to your life? What difference would it make? I'd love to see some comments in the chat. Have a feel about it right now. Just absorb that. How would you feel about financial pressure? There wouldn't be any. How would you feel about putting more money into the mortgage and just paying it down and maybe getting rid of it with the uncertainty that's going on in the world right now? I've seen some life changes, fantastic travel, charity. There's a good one. Thank you, Christine. Now that you're sorted financially, what projects are you going to support? What difference in the world do you want to make? Phoebe's going to retire from nursing. Beautiful. How does that make you feel? Get into that feeling of this time next year. This is a reality for you. Can that happen? Absolutely, it can happen, right? So I want you to absorb that, write it down, giving, things you want to do. What is it you want to do with your life if you had an extra $100,000? Now, maybe you, like Phoebe, you would retire because you know what, I'm overworking now because I don't want to do that anymore. That'll replace my income entirely. Or maybe you have that income as well as working. Because one of the things we say in this industry, don't retire the minute you hit a high rank. Wait till you put your income away for 6 months first, then retire, right? Why? Because you know it's stable, okay? So let's be honest. And I hate to say this while I'm watching the chat, but everyone's going to type in what they really want, but how many of you do really mean it? Because have you made a plan, right? Have you made a plan? Now, I mean a realistic plan, right? And I'm going to share this story, and even if this person's online right now, that's totally fine because I'm not saying any names, but I had a person in my team come to me the other day and they said, I'm going to be a double diamond by the end of this year. I said, fantastic. I said, now let's have a quick look in the back office right now and have a look at your business, right? Now keep in mind that's 3 months from now. I've looked at there and I've gone, right, okay. So they do have one leg in one country that is going to put diamond volume in their one leg of their business. Absolutely. I can see it happening. It's been doubling and doubling again and doubling again and doubling again. So one leg is going to have 50,000 PV, but that's not a diamond. Now, a diamond is actually someone who has no more than 25,000 they can count from any one of their legs and at least 25,000 elsewhere. So it's 50,000 PV, but only half of that, 25,000, can come to, sorry, something just came up on my screen that was scaring me. It said it's going to restart my computer. I'm like, no, you're not. So we really need to map it out in a way that's realistic. So this is what I did for this guy, right? I just said, okay, I want you to think about that. So you have 2,000 PV outside of your main leg right now. Was it doable? Absolutely. I said that means if you want 25,000 PV outside of it, you've only got 2,000 right now. We have to work a way out and map out a plan to find 23,000 extra PV between now and the end of the year, right? It only becomes a real goal if you write it down and put a plan in. Otherwise, I'm sorry to say it, what you're actually doing is wishing. And wishing's nice, but wishing doesn't come true always, right? And even if you go and put up the vision boards, as Steve says, and go, I am a diamond, I'm a diamond, I'm a diamond, unless you put that bloody plan in place and get off your bum and put activity in, it ain't going to happen. It's just wishing, okay? So I want to change it from wishing to planning and vision mapping and making sure you get on this trip next year, okay? Because it's going to require commitment. Oh my God, commitment. Oh my God. Yes, that's what the difference is between those who make it and those that don't. So next year, we don't want you to wish to get to the diamond retreat. We want you on the diamond retreat. And this is definitely going to happen. But the chances of a person getting to the diamond retreat, if they set the goal and don't write a plan, is right here. 0. No chance. 0. It's like trying to wish for Tats Lotto. So we're going to show you how to map out the plan right now, right? So if you wanted 25,000 PV outside of the main leg, and let's say by November, why is that? Again, talk to an upline, because if you set your goals having the highest month in December, you don't understand the industry. December is always quieter than November. It has been forever. So November is the peak of the year. I can tell you here in Australia, Phoebe will admit to this as well. We get to about, and I've spent many years working with people, we get to about the 15th of December and getting someone to do anything, good luck. They're all on holiday mode. And then we try and slap them around and wake them up in January, but hardly half of them do, and the other half wake up at the end of January going into February and are off again. So the December-January period is always a little bit of a lull. So if you're going to set your goals, your high point is going to be November. So bring it back another month from there. So if at the end of, say, November, we wanted 25,000 PV, where would you need to be in October? Halve it. 13,000. This is how you can map out a rough plan. So bring it back one more month to the end of September, you'd probably need 7,000, half of that, outside of the main leg. But that's 2 weeks away. Now, keep in mind, this person I had the discussion with, I had this discussion 2 weeks ago. They had 2,000 PV outside of the main leg, and they knew they needed to find 5,000 more. That's not hard to do in 2 weeks, right? How could this happen? Let me help map it out for you. And this is where I'm going to get you to understand the disconnect if you've just set a goal last year to get to Diamond Treat without the plan. So it's pretty simple. If that individual committed to doing a cycle, now what is a cycle? A cycle is part of our total way of we build the business. It's part of our system. A cycle is 30 contacts off your list. So there's 30 phone calls, 30 texts, 30 whatever, where they've watched videos, they've had an invitation, not 30 answering machines that said, call me back, 30 contacts that you've spoken to, right? So on average, did you know that the results of that across the world will end up with about 3 members, maybe 3 customers, right? Maybe 6 total results. So what's that look like? Well, that's maybe 1,200 PV. Now you're probably going, and this is where, if you are doing this, you need to talk to an upline who has the knowledge. You don't map everything out for 100 PV because that's not what the average is across the world. The average is 200. So yes, if you did a cycle in a week, you'd end up with somewhere between 600 as a baseline, because that's 3 members, 3 customers. That's basics, 600, up to 1,200, which is more likely going to be the answer. Plus, of course, remember, people buy bigger packs too. And again, if you're not having an upline on a step 2 of your calls, connect to leaders, you probably are ending up with lower amounts of packs, because the upline is the one that generally gets people to understand why they want bigger packs and more product ready to go to build the business fast. So without it, I'll guarantee you virtually, you probably have a lower PV per head, okay? So in that 3 weeks, we need to pull out 3,800 PV, okay? In this example, how can we do that? Well, out of the 3 new members that have started, even if 2 of them were to do a cycle, which is really just a baby step of the 30 calls, guess what? Those individuals would be able to potentially bring in another 600 to 1,200 PV on top of that. Now, if you did another cycle yourself, that person, another 600 to 1,200 PV, it could be done. So chunking it down to cycles is where we can see it is possible to generate that 3,800 PV, and we still have 2 weeks up our sleeve, right? So you just see what we're doing here? Belief, and I mean rock solid, I know categorically this is going to happen belief, come hell or high water, guaranteed, that's the kind of belief that makes it happen, okay? Doubt, on the other hand, takes out the excitement, the intensity, and the drive out of your business, because you don't believe it anyway. So you probably won't back yourself. So the point here I'm getting at is if you know that you know that you know, and it's a goal that you know you can do, and you've broken down the baby steps as well, chances are you're going to do more work, you'll get a better result, okay? So what are we doing here? We're breaking it down to chunks, okay? So that you can see evidence, like a peak-to-peak principle, that it's actually working and it's what you need to do and you're moving towards your goal. So if you only focus on the ultimate goal of Diamond at the end and you don't chunk it down with steps in between, you're diluting yourself, and the growth isn't going to happen, okay? So on the other hand, if we break down the goals to activity steps and chunks, you can see yourself inching forwards. Now your journey to crown is going to happen, or journey to Diamond. Now, my journey to crown, was it a perfect line upwards all the way with the volume growth absolutely duplicating, doubling and doubling and doubling and doubling? No. If you saw the squiggly line, there were months where it looked like we were going backwards. But as long as the trend was upwards, it's working, and that's what we want. Okay. Now it's interesting. I started a brand new guy, and again, top of mind because Phoebe was on this call the other day, and he was blown away when I said this, because if you're looking at it and you have a big, hairy, audacious goal of I'm going to be a diamond next year, I've got $100,000 plus a year, and I'm feeling confident, and I've got my trip wherever that trip's going to be, right? You got all that happening, and then you do break it down with your goals. If you chunk it down and then you look at the first say month, let's say you ended up a senior member with 1,500 PV. If you look at that and then you look at Diamond, you're probably going, this is never going to happen. There's such a big step. So here's the other thing we need you to have in your brain, and I shared with a brand new guy the other day. If I offered you $100,000 cash, take it right now and run with it, or I'll double 2 cents for the next 31 days, which would you take? Type it in the chat. Do you want the $100,000 cash right now? Run. It's yours. You can have it. Or would you take 2 cents if I just doubled it? Someone says double, 2 cents. Yes. Because if you do the maths, and this is where your brain really needs to get it, guys, and this is where people don't understand it with the scope of leverage in network marketing, the compounding of that is going to turn into millions of dollars at the end of 31 days. Millions. I'll just pluck a figure out of the air. Let's say it was 5 million on day 31, just so you can see it coming backwards. Where was it on day 30? 2.5 million. Where was it on day 29? 1.75 million. Where was it on 28? Under a million. Oh, here we go. Where was it on 27? 500,000. Oh, okay. Where was it before that? 250,000. See how the curve is at the end. So that's what happened to me with Crown. I put in so much work, recruiting like crazy, building people's businesses, working downline, driving depth, everything like that. I wasn't necessarily seeing Crown instantly, but over time it all adds up, and the consistency of still doing a high level of intensity is the key. Now, if you were going to climb Mount Everest, no doubt you would have packed absolutely everything you need to get to the summit, yeah? But you would have already chunked down your goals too, that maybe you're going to go backwards and forwards to the base camp a few times first, just to tone yourself up, yeah? Because I can guarantee you this, if you look into it, people don't just get onto the base of Mount Everest and climb all the way to the top without any practice, without any plan, without anything, or they'll just perish. There's even frozen bodies up there that have never been moved, that got names they've attached to them. So you don't want to risk something like that. Now, I'll put it to you that those who set a big lofty goal like Diamond without steps, they too will perish. Now, they won't die and freeze to death, right? But they will die internally if they keep setting a lofty goal without plans and steps, because their subconscious doesn't believe they're going to do it. So it's got to be something that actually helps you to believe that you are on the right track. And that's where the baby steps come in, right? So it's really good. So what I want you to encourage you to do is you do set the big goal. You emotionally attach to what's Diamond going to look like next year when you've got that retreat. But then you work it back, and then I want you to pat yourself on the back for the activity steps, not the results. So don't go, oh, I sponsored one person. Instead go, oh, I contacted 10 people. Oh, I'm a legend. So focus on building up and being your own cheer squad for the activity that you do. Now, if 10 sounds like a lot for you, that means you're probably not new, because you've probably burnt through 50 to 100 names on your list already. If you are brand new and 30 scares you, that's scary, because it is going to take numbers of people to talk to as you get your business growing, right? So I want you to also think about loving the journey. What do I mean? It's not about going Crown. Now, right now, I've set some new goals. The company brought out new goals of president and so forth. And I even found myself the other day, I'm one finger pointing at you, 3 pointing at me, getting trapped in the goal is so important that you don't love the journey on the way. And you've got to remember and be grateful for where you are at right now, because an energy of where you're at right now and loving that is the positive energy people want to be around. If the energy is, when I reach Diamond, I'll have a life, you're not going to enjoy the journey. So you've got to love the journey. Robert Kiyosaki said this industry is the best business school on the planet, right? And he says that because you get to learn new skills, but then you get to put them into action as well. And that's where the personal growth happens. There is zero personal growth on this event. There is zero personal growth reading any books or having a mentor. It's the application of the principles when you hear on those sessions, and then you apply it. That's where the growth comes from. Okay, so love the journey, love who you become, love the new skills you're going to attain, love this business, love the products, love the Neumi family, upline, crossline, downline, love everything about what this amazing opportunity has, but not just the end goal. When you do, you become attractive and more people will want to join your team. Having said that, this is the head on block time. Okay, if you really truly do want to be a diamond this time next year, and you want $100,000 plus income, and you want that trip and all that sort of stuff, and travel to a beautiful location, it's only going to happen if you're going to do the following. This is where you need your pen out. Ready? Number one, write this down. Write down the rank that you're going to be at June next year, because that's when you need to qualify by. Okay, June 30th, you need to be a diamond by then. And ideally, and they will roll this out, but I'll give you a sneak preview. If you hit it once, they'll pay for part of it. In this year, it was the cruise. You need to hit it twice to get your flights covered. I would encourage you to hit it 3 times to get everything covered, right? So that means bring it back, and maybe your goal needs to be to hit the rank by March. See how we're only 6 months away now? So for the moment, though, let's just go for the least possible qualification. If it was 50,000 PV that you need and 3 one-star legs, diamond done by June, at least you're on the trip. Well, where would you want to be by March? Well, you'd have to be probably half that. So maybe set a goal that you would want to be 25,000 PV by March, and maybe have 2 one-star legs. Guess what that would be? That would mean you'd be a 3-star, a really good solid 3-star with maybe 2 one-star legs, but 6 legs in total, because you don't want 3 legs ever. If you want a good payout, you're aiming at 6. And then you'd have a good solid income from 3-star as well. Now let's bring it back. I know you're writing this down. Where would you need to be in December? Well, you'd probably be about half of that. So let's say about 13,000 PV, and you'd be a really strong 2-star. Let's go back even further. Where, if you were 13,000 PV in December, knowing that it's a slower month, where would you want to be by November? The same volume. You're going to aim at the 13,000 PV by November. Okay, now, between now and the end of November, to get 13,000 PV, how would you do that? If you wanted to be 6,000 PV by the end of October, meaning a strong 1-star, okay? So now we need to map out the plan, and this is the plan. In order to achieve 6,000 PV in the next 6 weeks, this is the reality check on doing stock. Take stock of your skill set. Are you working with an upline? Take stock of your list. Do you have an active list that you've been working with so you can pull 30 names off right now? If not, what were you doing in the last 3 months? That was what you should have done. We talked about that. We've been doing the social media training where you would have built new lists of names. This is why the digging the well before you need it part is so important. That's why I keep doing my social media incubation permanently, because I've got an ongoing list of names that I might contact next year. All right. So take stock. And also take stock, are you willing to put in the time that it's going to require to make it happen? Now, if you break it, the 6,000 PV into 200 PV lots, because that's the average, that's 30 new members you'll need in your team by the end of 6 weeks. See how we're getting down to really, detailed stuff now? Now, you could sponsor 30 people yourself, but that's not network marketing if you're only the person sponsoring. That's what influencers do. The network marketing model is empowering others. So given the average conversion rate, I'd ask the question, do you have 300 names on your list? No, probably not, which means you're going to have to teach Neumi cycles to other people. And then part of your qualification is going to be because they do it too. So if you do a cycle on your own and you can generate between 600 to 1,200 PV each time, and we know you can, then a cycle would take 30 names off your list. If you've got 30 names, hopefully, and if you have, fantastic. If you haven't, and you wrote down that goal of diamond, I'm only going to be honest with you, redo your goal if you haven't got those names, because names equal conversion. Without names, you got nothing. That's your stock in this business, right? Or do you have team members downline that could be doing the cycles? And this is the important part. I've worked with many people on their goals and said, don't start with your goal. Yes, write down, I want to be a diamond. Now look in your team and say, okay, what do they want to be? Don't say, I need this leg to be 25,000. Does that person want to be 25,000? Let's work with your downline, yeah? So let's talk about cycles. And let's be honest, are you doing cycles yourself right now? Bit of silence awkwardly on purpose, right? Or are you poking it with a stick? Remember, people will only do a percentage of what you do. The speed of the leader determines the speed of the group. So right now, if you were doing a cycle, that's the best thing you could do, is doing a cycle in the next week, because then you could put your hand on your heart and say, guess what I did? I just did a cycle. And then you can teach that, right? So if you do the maths, 5 cycles from 5 different people would produce about 6,000 PV in the next 6 weeks. So what am I getting at? If you don't set a goal of doing a cycle with 30 contacts, but you have the big, hairy, audacious goal of diamond, I want you to look in the mirror and ask yourself if you're serious or kidding yourself, right? This is tough love, but it's what I want. I know every single one of you can be a diamond, right? Now, along the way, some people have been lucky. I call it a curse, where they snag somebody and it runs without them, and then they think that's the way the business is built, and it's not. You don't grow by your wins. You grow by your challenges. You grow by the things that We're tough. You develop muscle, if that makes sense, because of the things you've done. So as a mentor, I'll never ask you to do something that I've not been willing to do myself. So can I do a cycle? Absolutely. When I launched, did I do a cycle? No, a cycle would have been considered too small for me to do at the time. I rang 100 to 200 people, and I was one of those people who launched. Karen Justice was one of those people who launched. Alex Montreal was one of those people who launched. Now, can everyone launch? No, I get that. Not everybody can. But if everyone's poking it with a stick, we'll all go, we've got an amazing product and we're all going to be broke in 100 years from now. If everybody did a cycle, this business just grows and grows and grows. If the odd person in your team launches, then we get this exciting growth that happens in the teams as well. Okay. Now, my beautiful wife said this, because a lot of you, if you followed on my social media, you know that I get to eat in a restaurant every day of the week, right? And she said, you know what, if you leave one ingredient out of a good recipe, it can screw up the whole recipe. So without flour, the cake doesn't work. Or maybe you can find a replacement, right? But without activity and without cycles, we don't have a business. Does this make sense? Type in yes in the chat if I'm hitting some points here, because this is so important. If you don't break it right down, then the goal ain't going to happen. So we just need to be really honest with ourselves and the people. Yep, beautiful. So in wrapping up, guys, I want to say you can be a diamond next year. Abso-friggin-lutely. And how will you feel with that $100,000 a year coming into the household? How will you feel traveling to a beautiful location around the world, but knowing that if you keep your diamond and or growing, you'll have that every year? It's been 4 years now. Remember, I said Liz had never left Australia. She's been to all these beautiful places thanks to Neumi and was so grateful. So that can be you too. Okay? So let's just take it one step back. I've talked about the diamond retreat. Guess what's going to happen if you start running right now and you don't wait? You'll also be at the Achieve trip. Now, I would love to tell you where that is. And I do know. But I'm not going to, because I'll get shot. But I can tell you the Achieve trip in the middle of the year is somewhere you're all going to want to be at, and you can qualify to earn your way there, and it'll happen if you start hitting the turbos now. It's in the back office. Lawrence, thanks for that. But they haven't had the big announcement yet. But anyway, so you can go, everyone's going to go dig in the back office. Wait, before Florence sends you to the back office, wait until we're finished. We're just about finished. So can anyone do it? Absolutely. Can you do it? Absolutely. But now's the time to commit to ourselves and turn it up from poking it with a stick and then making a really big decision that you can turn the heat up and you're going to focus on this opportunity, not just product sales, but opportunity now. And if you're teaching the baby steps, which is Neumi 1, 2, 3 and cycles, you will duplicate the same. People do what you do, not what you say, right? I know that every single one of you online has what it takes to go diamond in the next 12 months. I know you do, every one of you. Will it require learning some skills? Yes. That you don't know now? Yes. Will it require you to get out of your comfort zone? Absolutely. Will it be worth it? Oh my God, yes, right? And I want you to think about that. You have to emotionally attach to exactly what that goal is, right? So when we came out of today's session, if you took some notes and you never look at them again, just, you're not serious. Just say to yourself, I'm really not serious, but I want to be serious, so I'm going to. So pull out the notes, write down the plan, break it down into steps, and don't just look at it now, reflect on it every week. Stick it up around the house somewhere. I'm going to be on this diamond retreat. It's been a pleasure presenting to you all today. Thank you, Phoebe, for hosting the call to make it easier for me to do all of this at the same time. This is the last call that I'm on, and I won't be speaking to you guys other than on social media until 4 weeks from now when I get back at the end of October. But I can tell you, while I'm gone, you guys can be inching forwards towards your diamond goal of next year. You can be inching forwards in qualification for the Achieve trip, and every single one of you can be on that diamond retreat next year. And I want you to be there with us. And I know absolutely all of you can do that as well. So with that in mind, as we always say, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, no matter where you're watching from. And we'll see you all. Oh, and by the way, Steve Scott will not be presenting tomorrow. I sent that alert out earlier. But so the next time you'll see me will be